Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's good to see all of you again. I'm bouncing over to my gallery view so I can check and see who's here. Oh, wow. We've got, wait, hold on. Y'all got to see this. I'm glad I bumped over to the, hey, Kate, you're live. I'm now allowing you to, there you go.
Right? Despite this one's best efforts.
Aw,
It
despite
was
its best efforts.
a class on quadrupeds, so I wasn't sure if you need to bring your own or if they're provided for you.
Oh, that is so good. Hey, maybe what we could do is just start by just your sketching your little buddy there.
Yeah, here, let me back him up for you a little bit so you can get the full view of him. This is Timber. He is a wild Mustang,
Hey, Timber.
ferocious animal, as you can see.
Oh, how fierce. How fierce. Nice to meet you, Timber. Here, why don't we do this? Let's quickly do some in-house announcements and then jump up to, I guess, if we're drawing this horse, does that count as timber doodling?
Definitely.
All right, then we'll timber doodle. And oh, this will be what a great way to start. Hey there, Timber. All right, I'm going to keep you on while we bring in Avea, the mad botanist. Um, did you know that this was happening?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good. All right. Um, yeah, the day just got a whole lot better with the timber doodle in it. So, what are some other things that are happening in Nature Journal Land?
So this evening there will be Trisha Nichols doing her bug night, as usual. So people of all ages are always welcome to join us. It'll be fun. Learning about bug anatomy and different orders of bugs. Lots of fun. Then on Saturday, we have our usual Pencil Miles and Chill. There might be some more things coming up. I put the link into the chat. A reminder that at some point soon, the community calendar will be moving over to its new home at the Wild Wonder Foundation's website. That link is also in the chat. There might be more, but I have put the community calendar and I'm going to go so we can draw the horsey.
Oh, this is great. All right. Hey, here's what we're going to do, folks. We got to get ourselves warmed up. And it looks like it's rather cold where Timber is right now. So let's do this. I'm going to minimize my screen. I'm going to suggest that everybody, what you don't want to do is get kind of locked into one drawing, do a whole bunch of different drawings. If Kate and Timber move to a different angle, just start another drawing and another drawing. And I'm going to make me small. And let's get our Timber on. I need to go grab my pad of paper. Get your Timber sketch on.
Yeah, moving so you can see more of them. Still bumping off on camera, please.
Yeah, folks, just jump to a new drawing. New drawing. Oh, what a beautiful animal. Timber moves, just pop over to a new drawing. Don't worry about finishing any of these drawings. You've got Timber in motion here. Close-up time. If Timber takes a pose and you start to draw it and then Timber moves, um, It's not going to work out well for you just to wait till Timber comes back to that pose, because Timber may or Timber may not.
He will
It
not.
depends on Timber's mood. Hey there, Timber. Kate, how long have you been working with Little Timber here, or Big Timber?
I started riding with Timber in August.
What is Timber's history?
Well, he was born on the Yakima Range, and a couple years ago, his dad picked him up and brought him home, and he just started him nice and slowly and gently, but he didn't have a lot of time on his hands, so I've just been putting some extra hours in with him to make him a nicely behaved little man. He's a very nice horse. He just he thinks he's a dog and would like to be in your lap, which does not work when you weigh 900 pounds.
How many times has Timber stepped on your foot?
He's actually very good. He has never done that, though I did fall off him once on the way home from the bar.
You did what?
I fell off of him on the way home from the bar. Trying to jump though, so that was kind of on me.
Not Timber's fault.
No, he's a good boy.
So, folks, just another strategy. If it feels overwhelming to draw all of Timber all at once, what you can do is just pick some part. Like, I'm going to learn something about Timber's nose, about Timber's eye, about Timber's ear, right? Something that's moving around. If it's moving around in a regular pattern, like here in a circle, start one sketch coming towards you, one to the side, one going away, and bounce between those drawings. As the horse gets back to a pose that you've started before, then just add a little bit to that one. Oh, wait, I saw that pose before. Haha. I get to jump over to one of my older sketches. Oh, that's cool. Oh, this is fun.
Is there any angle you guys would like to see?
Yeah, let's just go with that profile right there. That's some classic Timber.
He thinks so too.
If you're drawing the body and then the head moved, it's okay to draw two heads on the same critter. One nibbling Kate's boot and one looking out to the left. Looking away from you.
Gotta get the other boot now.
Yeah, I gotta get the other boot. Nibble the other boot. Nibble, nibble. Nibble, nibble.
Tasty.
Yeah, get your nibble on. Now, part of this is, if you feel kind of this feeling of frustration every time Timber moves, what you want to do is just sort of realize that something that's really nice about Timber is that Timber moves, right? And just appreciate sort of moving Timber. And as Timber moves, just try to get yourself to flow to the next sketch as smoothly as you can. The more that you feel kind of a moment of angst and like, oh no, Timber moved, then that just kind of pulls you out of the moment And instead, see if you can get yourself to just sort of accept that new pose, that new little timber moment. If you're just joining us, we've got a guest star this morning just to warm us up. This is Timber the Mustang, who is helping us just get a little bit of quadruped action on. And we're just doing some warm-up sketches and just noticing that, you know, Timber's moving around, and that's okay. You find some mammals that you draw hold still more, others don't, and that's okay. If moving mammal bothers you, sleeping cats, good thing. Okay, thank you for bringing your little friend with us this morning.
Yeah, of course.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, if anyone has time to grab a screenshot, I think it'd be really funny to send to his owner and tell him that Timber went to art class.
All right, let me take one right now. Timber goes to school.
Timber goes to school.
Star pupil. Yeah, the strategy of just finding one little part of timber to focus on, I find to be a really, really helpful one. Like right now, I'm getting my brisket on. So right where timber's front legs come together, there's this the pectoral muscles were visible. And so I just started to draw this little kind of moment of timber's pectoral muscles. I don't have to draw a whole timber head and everything. If you get really frustrated about drawing a head, try a leg. You don't have to do the whole thing, just eat timber. It's the nose cam. That's always good.
Oh, was that scary?
Oh,
He likes to act like a macho man, but he's a big chicken at heart.
oh yeah. Yeah, sometimes the talking box and screen is a confusing thing, isn't it?
Well, we practiced that before you guys came on. I put some YouTube videos on for him and gave him some cookies, so he was all ready to see you guys.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah.
We're going to be drawing timber for a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to show you some mammal drawing techniques. And if Kate's still around at the end, maybe we'll end with a little bit more timber time, if that works for Kate. If not,
Is as soon as we start doing the planned lesson, I'm gonna go move my car up, and I have my art station set up at the house. But if you want more timber time at the end, I will always be happy to do that. Can also get his horse friends out if you like a little variety.
thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
What a wonderful treat. What a great way to start our day.
Oh yeah, I figured you guys would enjoy that.
It looks rather cold there. What's your outside air temperature?
Oh, I think it's 31.
Bit nippy.
Yeah. The water troughs are frozen. You are a stinky man today.
No. All right, everybody, I'm going to ask everybody to just drop a little love note to Timber into the chat. And Kate can copy the chat contents and read it to Timber a little bit later.
All right. Okay. Oh wait, he can see them now. Timber, you're the best.
Is the white spot on the forehead a star?
Yes, it is. For those who can't see, because you got so much hair.
Oh, so what's the difference between I know there's like a star and a blaze. What's a blaze?
Well, a blaze runs all the way down, and they just have a little white spot on their nose called a snip.
A snip?
A blaze is a big wide stripe, and then there's like a stripe, which is a very narrow stripe. There's the bald face where the horse has white all over their face.
Aww. Oh, you give nice horsey kiss.
Oh yes.
Hey, Kate, thank you so much for bringing this wonderful animal to us this morning.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having us. I will join you guys with my art stuff in a few minutes.
And I noticed that you're riding without a saddle and without a bit.
That's called laziness.
Ah.
Also, he's warm, which, you know, the saddle is not.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing, and probably more comfortable for little Denver.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think for long distance, for safety and for the horse's comfort, then a saddle is a good idea. But for just plodding around the yard, bareback is always a good time.
Oh. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you, Timber. Thank you, Kate.
Yeah, we'll see you guys soon.
We'll see you soon. Oh, wow. Wasn't that fun? Wasn't that cool? That I did not know that that was going to happen this morning, and so that just made my morning even even more delightful. So what I want to do is today we're going to start a kind of an investigation in drawing all sorts of different aspects of mammals, and we're going to really get in future classes under the hood and understand the structure of how mammals are put together. But today what I wanted to do is just kind of give a big picture overview of a way of thinking about mammals. And there's a basic mammal plan, and once you have that in your head, it's easy to look at different mammals with different body shapes and have a pretty accurate idea of what's happening underneath the skin with the skeleton, with the muscles, because there are strong similarities between all of these different groups of mammals. It's essentially the same basic plan, little tweaks here and there. So if you know where to look and you have this basic plan in your head, you can look at a critter and your eyes can go whip right over to the part of the beastie that gives you special knowledge about drawing that that kind of a species. So we're going to look at this general mammal plan, and then we are going to get into a little bit of detail of anatomy of three major groups. So for people who are sketch noting, they're thinking, okay, there are going to be three major groups here. I'm going to sketch note those. I'm going to leave kind of plan for it. We're going to see how those are set up. All right. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and let's start. Let's start with this. Well, I need to make a couple of changes on my screen. I'm going to hide. And I'm going to turn on I don't see how to turn on my closed captioning today. Sorry about that. Let me
I just enabled closed captioning if that's helpful.
Oh, thank you so much. It's good to have a team. All right. So here we go. Here are back limbs of 3 different mammals. What I'm looking at here on the left is a bear, a dog, and a deer, going from left to right. And what I want you to notice is that, oops, that was supposed to be, hold on, did all this work, and it didn't flip that over. You need to be flipped. There we go. All right, what I wanted to show, before I started moving all these elements of my screen around, there, okay, that will do it. Actually, well, since I'm here, maybe I'm going to start here. That's what I'll do. I have a bear on top, mountain lion left, and a deer on the right. I'm going to switch microphones so that while I'm over here, I can be heard well. Just an audio check. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. So what I'm going to do is to show some basic differences between these. First, the general plan. I'm going to move a. So first, my general plan. The mammal has a skull, and I like to usually just think of the skull as a ball with a box sticking out the front of it. Different mammals have different sized boxes. All right, so we've got skulls all around. Ball with a box. From the skull, the spine comes down and it connects into the spinal cord, which then curves up over the body. At the front, the rib cage makes a fort protecting the heart and the lungs. And that is fused directly into the spinal column. Now, we have front legs and back legs, and they're attached in very, very different ways. And but the basic structure of them is really similar. So on the, let's change color here, because hot pink is a good color for front legs. Attached on the side of the rib cage is the shoulder blade. And the shoulder blade is not fused into the skeleton. It is attached loosely by ligaments and muscles that attach it to the body. So if the skin were and the meat were all to rot away, that shoulder blade would just flop off because it's just held on there by meat. And just like you, from the base of the shoulder, you have an upper arm that comes down. Here's an upper arm coming down. Here's an upper arm coming down. And then you hit your elbow. And then you have a forearm that comes down from that. Forearm comes down from that. Forearm comes down from that. And that means that this joint here, here, and here is your wrist. And finally, you have your hand attached to that. And if you look at your own hand, there are two basic parts. There is the palm surface of your hand, and then you have your fingers. On a mammal that's walking around on four legs, they're either going to be walking flat on their hand, or they will be up on their fingertips, or they'll be walking on their toes. And depending on the orientation of that hand, the leg looks really different, but it's the same structure underneath. So on my bear here, it has its palm surface here. That's, if you look at the back of your hand, that's that flat part of the back of your hand, and then little fingers that stick up. On the mountain lion, you have that palm surface sticking down like this, still making the leg longer. So it's not walking flat on its little bare hand. It's up, that part of its foot is up, and it's up on its little mountain lion toes. So then the fingers come down, that's the toes there. And on the deer, it's a really interesting setup because the bones that are across the back of your hand get fused together to make this big vertical column. Those bones are fused together. So these bones on you fuse together, and then it is walking on its fingers, and the hoof itself is actually its fingernail. So on the back leg, it's a similar setup. So the bear is walking around on its, here's its hip, here's my hip of my mountain lion, here's my hip of my deer. And from the hip, our thigh bone comes down to the knee, and you look, there's a little kneecap. So the thigh bone comes down, and there's a little kneecap. The thigh bone comes down, and there's a little kneecap. So feel your own kneecap, feel your own leg below that. Your leg below that has two bones. That's the tibia and the fibula. And the same is true with all of these critters. So, I have my tibia and fibula coming down here. I have my tibia and fibula coming down here. And I have my tibia coming down here. The fibula gets kind of really reduced on this beastie. And that brings you to your heel, and your heel on the back foot. Now, let's put in the foot itself. On a bear, it is walking on the whole sole of its foot like you do. This little bump in the back is the heel bone. If you feel behind your own foot, there's a little bone that sticks up in the back of your foot behind your ankle. That's your heel bone. The bear has it too. The bear then has its instep and its toes. So feel the long part of your foot. That is on the bear, this zone in here. On the mountain lion, that is this big surface here. And on the deer, that's this bone here. Wait, did I say tibia and fibula on the front? I think I did, didn't I? I should have said radius and ulna. Sorry. If I said that those two bones coming down on the front leg on were the tibia and fibula, erase that thought, and that's your radius and ulna. But look at Here's the heel bone sticking up on the deer. Here is its instep, and it's up on its toes, walking on its toenail. So the mountain lion toes are down here. So you've got the same basic plan, but what is different is from the foot down. And that is huge. So on a back foot, there's bear over on the left, dog in the middle, or actually no, I think that's a lion again, and then a deer over on the right. I have this little orange part on the bottom shows you where the foot, the shared foot is. So you're going from hip, knee, heel. From the heel down, that's in the orange area there. So different animals are standing on different parts of their foot. So if you're thinking about the front leg, they all have a shoulder blade. Now we're primates, so on primates, our shoulder blades are flat on our back. On the rest of the animals, they're on the sides of the bodies. Sort of quadrupeds, you'll find the shoulder blades are running on the sides of the bodies. We all have a forearm that comes down, an upper arm, that's your humerus. You go to your radius and ulna here. You get to the hand, and here's the palm of the hand and the fingers. So on a bear, it's doing this with its foot. On a lion, it's doing this. So it's up on its toes, and the palm of the hand is making the leg longer. And on the deer, it's walking on its toenails. And this part of the hand gets fused together in this one long bone. So the same is true on the back leg. The bear is walking around in its bare feet. So the bear has this whole surface kerplop on the ground. As it walks, just like you do, it starts flat and then it rolls to the toes and then it goes off, just the same way that you do. On the mountain lion, this part of the instep is sticking up off the ground and it's walking on its toes. The deer is walking on its toenails, and these bones here get all fused together. Instead of being several long, thin bones, you get those fused together into one long common bone. So that means, if we can see the floor here, we go from the bear. See, I think you need to come here. The bear does this. So if at home you can get up and still see your screen, give this a try. Be the bear, so 4 flat on the floor. And so the bear is walking around like that. So a bunch of other animals, including the bear, do this. So raccoons do this. You'll see other primates doing this. So a baboon would be doing this. And possums, same thing, kind of this slow, flat foot walk with the whole foot down. Now, the dogs and cats, they're a little bit faster. So we're up on our toes like this. All right? And I'm only going to do this on this side because, so just ignore my backside here, it's just there for my balance. On the deer, they're going on their toenails. They're going on their toenails, and this bone there is lengthened to be to give you a longer stride. Now, where did I put those glasses? There they went. So once you get this basic mammal plan down, then it is a lot easier to visualize putting a mammal together. Let me bounce back to this share screen for a second. All right, so here's your feet. On our front foot, you see we're doing the same thing. We have shoulder blades. We have the upper arm bone. That's your humerus. You have your radius and ulna here. Those are your forearm bones. And there's your wrist. On the bear, the wrist is flat on the floor. The lion, the wrist is still pointing down, making your leg longer. And on the horse or the deer, that forearm, that hand bone, the palm of the hand is fused together in this one long bone, with then the fingers are the tip of that. Ignore that line. It's supposed to be the other way. Before this show, I flipped my image over and it did not flip. It did not flip my orange. So that means that part of the, need to flip this over. This is the way that it should have looked. Okay. I now am going to go back here, reshare that. There we go. So everything below in the orange zone, that is what the hand is doing. All right. So Avea, are you seeing bones on the screen with the little orange zone?
Yes, and the orange zone is higher up when it comes to the unguligrade.
Okay, great. Oh, Avea's just used an interesting and useful term. She said unguligrade. If you are interested in such things, you can think of these three different essential sort of leg postures as being the one that's flat on the floor. That is called plantigrade. Because your plantar pad, which is the pad of your hand, is on the ground. The middle one is digitigrade because you're on your digits. And the one on the right is unguligrade because you are up on the unguus, which is the fancy word for your fingernail. So you're either walking on your unguus, your fingernails, your digits, or all the way down on your plantar pad. So plantigrade, digitigrade, unguligrade, that you'll hear those terms used. If you have these three basic plans in your head, you're ready to draw most mammals. What is this one? So on your screen, touch its shoulder, touch its elbow, touch its wrist. Touch those spots. Now touch its hip, its knee, and its heel. So did that come out like this? Let's see here. Did we say we have, so in here is at my shoulder blade. I have a shoulder, I have an elbow, I have a wrist, and my hand is dropping down like this, and my fingers are curling back like that. And in the back, I have a hip bone. And from my hip bone, I have a knee, actually knee down here. I have a knee. I have a heel. And here's my little heel bone. Here are my, here's the palm of my foot and kind of going out to my toes. So there's the foot, just like your hip, your knee, your foot on the ground. We want to be able to look at a mammal and make sense of these things. Notice what is happening on this back foot. its knee is here, its heel is here. So its heel is sticking up here, and it's now walking out on its toes, so that the the palm of its foot is up off the ground as it's walking along. So it starts flat-footed and then it rolls forward. On the front foot, what's going on is its wrist is not here. Its wrist is actually up here. What you're seeing here is that hand coming down. Let's clear those. Now do the same thing with our friend the baboon. Try on the back legs. Decide where you think its hip is, its knee, and its heel. Then figure out where its shoulder, its elbow, and its wrist are. Let's take a look at that. My hip bone is in here. My hip goes, this little joint right, this little bump you see right here, that's its knee. So I have a bone coming like this. I have a bone coming down to the heel. My heel is sticking out here. I have those little bones on the instep going out here, and then my toes sticking out beyond that. And in the front, my shoulder is here. My elbow is here. My wrist is right there. So here's that palm of the hand. And then my toes are, or the little fingers out here, those are the little bones of the fingers, just like on our little hands. It has a shoulder blade, and the shoulder blade is up against it, right in here. Do the same exercise. So you figured out where this critter's parts are. There are some things that, here, whoops, hey, come back. There you are. Let's take a look at, all right, I have a hip bone in here. I have a knee that is down here. This bone sticking out is the tip of the heel. This bone sticking out is its ankle. So we're going up to that. Here is that instep, and then we're up on our toes here. We're walking on our toes. This joint you see right here is the elbow. It has a shoulder about in here and a shoulder blade in there. Its wrist is right down here. And we have the same plan. So being able to figure out the joints on a mammal is very, very useful. There's another general trend that I want to point out, and that is going bigger to smaller. The further you get out on any of these limbs, the skinnier the leg gets. And the reason is you don't want to hold a lot of weight away from your body. If you do that, your arm gets really tired. So the more that the muscles mass in near the body, the better it's going to be for you. So along this upper bone here, this thigh bone, the muscles on the thigh are really big and beefy. So we have a big mass up here. So the thigh of the chicken is bigger than the drumstick, right? Let's look at the drumstick on this critter. So anatomically, the drumstick is the lower leg. So that's your tibia and fibula. So on this critter here, this is its drumstick. Bigger out in here, getting smaller in here. So we have the thigh attaching to the drumstick, which gets smaller as it goes out. So big to small, and then out here on the foot, we're all small. In here, see this big shadow zone right in here? All right. This is, and this little wrinkle of fur right in here, this is the mass of the muscles that attach the shoulder blade onto the upper arm bone. There also is a biceps muscle right in here. So this is the triceps and this is biceps. So that makes for a big box of muscles up here that then goes into a small cone that then goes into a little stick. So the general thing you're going to expect is big attaching to smaller, attaching to small, attaching to your toes, on both the front and the back. Let's take a look at those leg proportions on this mountain lion. Figure out your joints. So what I might do, if I'm quickly kind of putting in a kind of a wireframe sketch for this, is I might do something like that. I might say, that. And then if I'm blocking in the masses of this, I might say big box, little tapered box, small column. Big box, smaller tapered, little column. So these are reliable, predictable things you can see across all these different animal groups. And that makes it so much easier to look at a critter and understand what's going on there. Do the same here. Remember this, oops, come back. Oh, remember this little point right here is not the heel. That is, not the ankle, it's the back of the heel. Your ankle is going to be right in there. So you're going to be coming from down to that. This, so hips, knee, heel, foot, walking on your toes. Just sort of a little aside about this, we'll get more into this in future classes, but this very prominent depression back here is the edge of where the Achilles tendon comes in and attaches to the back of the heel. That, on the other end, is going up to this big gastrocnemius muscle here. attaching to the back of the leg here. And as it comes back, it often makes a very clear divot right there in the back leg. We'll get into more of this kind of anatomy in subsequent classes, but that's a kind of knowing that that's there helps you understand the geometry or the structure behind that back leg. And finally, we have a deer. Now we're up on our fingernails. And here, notice that this joint that you're seeing right here in the middle of the leg, that's not the knee back there in the middle. So this is not a backwards facing knee. Look at where this deer's knee is. Hip, knee, heel. So if I make a kind of a quick little study of this, and this is my critter's body, and I have a hip bone. Well, let's not use something that blends in. If I have a hip bone, I'm going to go to a knee, and that knee is about at here's the knee, here's the knee. The knee's about at the height of the body. So what I see coming down behind that is coming down to the heel. So this is your normal facing heel right back there. So quick and deer, and now notice on the front leg, here's your elbow right at the body level, right? Elbow's right at the body level. So this joint here is not the elbow, that's the wrist. This is the wrist, and that's why this bends that way. This is just bending its wrist forward. So it's got its upper arm, it has its elbow, wrist, and this whole part out here, that's the hand. So that means that from my shoulder blade, this foreleg is coming essentially straight down. This back leg has a bend in it, thicker here, thinner there. So here's the quick deer body. Here's my body. Here's my back leg. And here's my front leg. Because the knee and the elbow are right up against the body surface. Find your joints. Why? Oops, come back. So I've got a hip in here. I have a knee here. I have a heel here, coming down like that. So I've got, and then my fingers, my toes, that is, are sticking out like that. This little point right here is the shoulder to the elbow, to the wrist. This is upper hand and fingers. Shoulder blade in there. So being able to see these major elements is going to make a massive difference in your ability to look at an animal, understand what's going on there, and be able to draw that. I want to be able to visualize those bones. As an artist, I need to be able to see past the skin and have X-ray vision into that body. Then I could say, here's my big mass of muscles going down to a smaller cone here, going to a thin tube here. Here is my big mass of muscles going to a little cone here, to a thin tube here. Do I have to learn, what is the biceps femoris? Do I have to learn what part is the triceps brachii? No, I actually don't. It's fun to do, and it does have its place in a really buff, thin-skinned critter. You can see the ripples of individual muscles in there, but you're going to get really far by knowing these major patterns on a critter. Final one. Let's all just make a little diagram of this character. And see if you can make that make sense to you. Don't worry about drawing ahead. We're really focusing on the body here. So I'm going to think I've got a big box in my body. It's a little bit chunkier up where the rib cage is. Few anatomical things that are kind of fun to know is that because the hip is tilted in here, you often see kind of a neat angle right in there. Another thing that's really interesting is that the spine comes through like this. On animals that have big heads, to hold that head up, there are processes that stick off the spine like that. And these attach to ligaments that help hold the head up. So animals with a big bump on their back, or with a big head, typically have a big bump on their back. So that's what's going on with that little bump there. Now let's turn our attention to the legs. Can you draw in just kind of the wireframe on your little sketch of what you think those legs are doing? So I'm going to say I've got hips, I've got a knee here, I've got a heel here. What do I have going on this one? I've got a shoulder in here. I've got an elbow in here. So this up here is my shoulder blade. I have my wrist here, and here's my hand. I can think of big box up here, big box, big massive muscles here, big massive muscles here. So that makes a little kind of a little crease right in there. tapering out, tapering down here. Thin, thin. And then I'm on my little fingers and toes. For me, this way of visualizing an animal makes all the difference for my ability to draw what I see. So what I recommend that people do is to start with photographs. Photographs are not going to move around, and it's easier to do. And play with kind of learning those little bits. Actually, do I want to add? Actually, I do want to add one more thing to your list of things to do. One other thing we're going to keep in our mind. We've got all these details on the legs. It's going to help us also to think of the body in a little bit more of a sophisticated way. And at the start is just kind of putting up that big block, right? At the start, if you're totally new to this, just don't worry about this next bit. Just kind of get that big block of the body and hang these legs from it that make sense. But if the leg part is starting to gel for you, what we can do to make our hold on a second. To make our drawings a little bit more solid is to think of that body also in 3 sections. For some reason, there's a lot of kind of groups of 3, like the big muscles, the medium, and the small, right? We had the plantigrade, digigrade, ungugrade. Maybe this is kind of like Buddhism, where like there's all these little things that are kind of in groups of 3. But the you can also think of your body as 3 sections. Hold on a moment. So we can think of a body as 3 sections. Are you seeing a moose right now, Vea?
Yes.
Okay, good. Easy way to sort of break down bodies is the 3 circles technique, where in this whole kind of chesty part where you've got your rib cage and you have your rib cage and these leg muscles in the front. Think of, whoops, no, not you yet.
We still only see the moose, don't worry.
Okay, we're still seeing moose?
Yeah, only the moose.
Only moose. Did you temporarily see a wildebeest?
No. Wait, have you put any annotations on this yet or no?
Not yet.
Okay.
All right. So on this, oops, are you now seeing a wildebeest?
Nope, still just the moose.
Let me.
Now we see the wildebeest.
Stop share. Try this one more time. I'm beginning to work my way around this whole Zoom platform. All right, now we're moosed. So here's a handy way to think about the body here. I can think of the, no, not you. Why are you doing that? Oh, I see. No. Well, it's not letting me. For some reason, I am now
Um, so what might be one other way to do this is if I have a critter and it's got a body like this, it helps sometimes to think of the upper chest here as here is kind of this unit 1. There's a slightly smaller unit at the hips, and then we're going to have unit 3 attaching those two together. So I've got the chest thorax area, I've got the tummy zone, and I've got the hips. So 3 circles. And then what I'll do is I will make those zones just a little bit more angular when I'm drawing something. And for instance, things often have kind of an angular hips. But this kind of gets you thinking that, you know, there will be stuff that is starting low and kind of bulging up here. There'll be kind of a second bulge in the middle. There'll be a third bulge in the hips. And so these sort of 3 circles technique can be useful in thinking about a critter. This gets most useful and most interesting if the critter then is turned at an angle to you. Because then you get your foreshortening of your body by having these 3 circles overlapping each other. And then you can have your, you know, your legs coming down. Your critter is happy. But you know, consider sort of thinking about those 3 masses as you're looking at a beastie. Can you sort of envision the mass of the chest, the middle of the body, and the hips? So that is our, hold on, I'm going to change my cam. That's our thought for today. In future classes, we'll kind of get more into step by step how I might approach drawing something like this. But I think that starting with an understanding of the basic structure and the basic differences is really powerful, is really helpful. So get yourself some photographs, draw some sort of studies of mammal legs. At this point, don't get wrapped around the axle about having to get the head right, but focus on getting the legs to work and to articulate for you. And you'll find that that really helps your beasties. In subsequent classes, we'll deal with like what do they do when they're sleeping and they've got their legs all tucked up and they're doing something cute like that. For right now, we're not going to worry about that. These are more sort of standing, walking animals. Also, at this point, don't worry about what if it's doing a full tilt gallop and its legs are doing this and I can't see them. I have another workshop that has been recorded on drawing gaits that you can look at. But for now, just kind of in more static poses and things, try to get yourself to understand those major components. And the advantage of this, let's say you're hanging out watching timber, and you get really good at drawing timber. The ideas that you get from drawing timber will translate directly over into drawing a giraffe, drawing a gazelle, drawing other critters that have that similar anatomy. And even though it's a little bit more distant, drawing the lion or drawing the baboon, what you understand in timber will apply to helping you be able to draw all these other beasties if you understand the basic similarities between the skeletons. So I hope this was useful and fun for you. Love to hear from you about any thoughts, comments, or ideas about today's workshop, and or if people had other or related questions. So first, things that are related to drawing these mammals, and then we'll just jump into some general sharing of what's been happening in your nature journal. So you can share or ask your questions by either using the raise hand function or by either the raise hand function or the just turn on your screen and wave at me, and I'll probably see you waving. Did anybody have any comments or questions about leg anatomy? Let's join Ann Chadwick from Point Blue Conservation Science, and I'm going to add you to the spotlight. Hi there, Ann. Oh, hold on a second. You can now unmute.
Hi there. Good to see you.
It's great to see you too.
Thank you so much for that class. It's great. And my impression is that the front legs are usually kind of out straight. So when I was drawing the various ones I had, like the front legs being pretty straight and the back ones having the bend in them. Is that a rule of thumb? I mean, I know they move and do different things, but if they're just
that is
there,
an excellent observation, and you're absolutely right. And functionally, there's a really interesting story behind that. So the back legs, the skeleton feeds directly into the spine. So there's a ball and socket joint there. So any motion or push in your back legs gets directly translated into forward motion. The back legs are big and beefy, and they're coiled up like a bent spring. So the back legs are a big bent spring.
Mm-hmm.
The front, so their job is to get the critter going fast. It's a motor, a big bent spring that has a direct feed into what the spine does. The front legs have a totally different job. Their job is to, when the animal jumps or leaps forward, that it doesn't smash its face into the ground. So the shoulder blade is loosely attached. The front limb is loosely attached. So when it comes down and there's pressure on the front legs, they will absorb the shock. And they're also, if you've got a heavy weight coming down and you're coming in with bent legs, you have to do a little push-up to stop you. But if instead you lock your legs out, you come out on your straight legs and then you let your shoulder blades absorb the shock, everything works out easier for you. Do you have a cat at home?
I don't at the moment, no. But
right. The next time you go over to your friend's house and they've got a cat, go, here, kitty, kitty, and call it over and watch as it walks towards you. You can see the shoulder blades on either side with each step of the leg going. When there's pressure on that side, the shoulder blade sticks up, and then this shoulder blade. And so as it walks towards you, you'll see the shoulder blades shifting like that. And so what you noticed is absolutely correct and absolutely functional. It is that the back leg is a spring. The front leg is a shock absorber built into a stand. Sort of, and also it's not as muscular. The back legs are like really beefy for shooting you forward.
mm-hmm.
The front legs, not so much, except on a lion, because it's using its front legs to tackle something else. But if you say, look at a greyhound, its front legs are like, right? The back legs are like, same with a horse, like big haunch. and the front legs around the shoulders. Like, that's more shoulder than I've got, but compared to its back legs is not nearly as impressive. Very good observation.
T-Rex, for
Yeah,
example.
like what's up? Yeah, what's up with that? Like,
Right.
when it gets something in his teeth, and it's like, oh man, I hate this.
Well, I know a lot about the radius and ulna because I actually broke my radius up here where it goes into the elbow. And when it was 4 weeks ago, and a big challenge is just getting range of motion back. So sometimes when you stop yourself and break your fall, you crack this.
Yeah.
It's not fun, but and then you have to work on range of motion so you can get stuff out of your teeth. This is new.
Yeah, that's right. It's very useful.
Being able to touch your nose is like, that's a big deal. Yay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm glad you're getting better, but you also you make a good point. If this front leg is such a good shock absorber, why is it that we're constantly dislocating our shoulders when we fall? Like if you're learning judo or something, what they teach you not to do. Jack will know about this when he takes a fall in his jujitsu class. You put your arm out like this to break your fall, you're going to dislocate your shoulder. So why is this not happening on gazelles, right? The reason is, this deserves a diagram. It's the orientation of our primates. The primates have we have hips that we can get upright on our hips, and our front limbs are then not set up to really help us be able to break a fall. And I'll show you why. We're going to switch over to this cam here.
and while you're doing that, it's also cyclists often break their collarbones because they break their falls and the shock goes up into the collarbone. And that's one of the most common breaks for a cyclist. It's not that they fall right on it, it's the shock going up their arm.
So yeah, we have collarbones. The deer doesn't. The giraffe doesn't have the collarbone. So if this is a front view of a horse, its body, its shoulder blade is floating like this on the side, held on by ligaments and things. And then from the bottom of that, you have the leg bones coming down from that. So the shoulder blade is here. So when there is upward force like this on this shoulder blade, it can slide up against the side of the body here. So these two shoulder blades can do this, so that when a horse is jumping over something and is coming into land, it's taking its legs and putting them out straight in front of it, which would be deadly, a way to break your shoulder for a human being. What's up with the human being? So instead of having a body that is flattened with the long way this way, now this way is good if you're going to be running through brush, right? Your body is narrower. But primates have a like us. Here's our skull. If you're looking down on us, our shoulder blades are here on our back, and then that comes around here. We have our clavicles that are coming in here, making this kind of this shoulder girdle in here that is really vulnerable. And our arms are then coming down from that. So if we fall and we put our arm out to brace ourselves, all that impact comes back here and it smashes into this joint breaking your clavicle or hurting your scapula back here, depending on the angle of the force. So because we primates have this shoulder blade that is not on the sides, but flipped around to our back, it makes us vulnerable to that kind of an injury. Did that make sense?
Yeah, you're making my arm ache a little bit, but it makes sense.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's good. It's fine.
Oh,
Thank you for that.
absolutely. Great to see you, Anne.
Thanks.
Any news from what's happening at Point Blue? By the way, I'm going to actually just come on here. I need to change my camera and join you on the screen. Here we go. Boom, I'm back. So Anne Chadwick is you're the president or director of
Chair of the board.
Chair of the board of Point Blue Conservation Science, amazing conservation group. And so if Giving Tuesday, you didn't give to any organizations that you wanted to support, consider Point Blue Conservation Science, because they do awesome research to give us evidence to make really kind of informed conservation decisions. Really, really cool group. Anything kind of cool happening over there at Point Blue these days?
Yeah, super exciting. And thank you, Evea, for putting that into the chat, if anybody wants to make a donation. So we just got this huge honor of, we are now going to work with the Department of Defense, of all things, which owns 27 million acres in the United States, or manages that much. And so that makes it the third largest manager of land in the United States. And one of their tasks is to monitor all the species on their lands, and especially with birds, which Point Blue is originally Point Reyes Bird Observatory, so that's kind of our background. And they have asked us to manage all that data. So not only we're putting it up in our cloud, so we have access to all of it, and we'll have standardized ways of how to collect it, because over the years, it's been like all over the US, we have different people collecting different data in different ways, and not being able to compare it and look at trends and understand what's going on with, the habitats and the success of the birds. So now we'll be managing that, not only how it's collected, but how it's managed, and then how, we'll have all that data to draw conclusions. So we have all these brilliant scientists working on that to—
That's really cool.
That we're using all that information brilliantly, and it informs not only what's going on with the birds, but all the species, and lots of endangered species are on that 27 million acres. So that's just a big honor that they trust us enough. It took us a long time to get the kind of recognition that our databases are, secure and well managed, and that we can process the data. So that's just one little example of a big, new, exciting contract for us.
Congratulations. Congratulations. That's really, really cool to hear. Again, Point Blue Conservation Science, and you can donate there. And they're like, there's a number of organizations that are, have a big infrastructure, and you're kind of paying for that. I think of Point Blue Conservation Science, like they're this little kind of lean gazelle out there, kind of doing really targeted, really useful, high percentage things. And again, the whole idea of making decisions that are based on evidence is huge and so important.
Yeah.
Because very often the way the world is different than the way you expect it to be.
Yep. So we're working in oceans. We've been managing the Farallon Islands projects for 57 years nonstop, 24/7. We have the bird station out at Palo Marin, which people can visit. You need to line that up in advance, but watch bird banding and see what the research is there. We're working with farmers and ranchers all up and down the Central Valley and in the rangelands, all through California and beyond. We're also expanding that nationwide thanks to a big USDA grant that we just got. And then we're up in the Sierra managing mountain meadows, as many of you know, and working on on forestry. So whether it's fire prevention or response to fires, and we're working with indigenous cultures to understand better fire management. So, you know, we're kind of in all those ecosystems, and it's really exciting to see all of it. And it's all based on science. We are a conservation science organization. So thanks for asking, and thanks for everybody for your interest.
Absolutely. Great to see you again.
Thank you.
That was fun to see Anne. Let's see what's up in other. Does anybody have any nature journaling adventures or other questions, comments, or thoughts that they wanted to share? Actually, before we do, I want to just send a shout out to Kate Chandler. Thank you so much for sharing timber with us this morning. That was really, really cool. Let's join, head across the pond to Londinium to join Ray Bonto. Hello there. Or are you still in, are you in India right now?
Yeah, we'll
Ah,
be here for 1 or 2 weeks more.
excellent. Good to see you.
Yeah. I'll be leaving straight away after I share. It's 1 o'clock. But
Let me, I'm going to minimize my screen so that we can see what you're up to. Oh, yes, nice skeletons here.
oh no,
Oh, whoa, check out Mr. T.
that was just doodle.
That's
I
a
mean,
really
I just
fun
put that.
doodle. I like the way you're carving those forms on that, the muscles there. Nice. Yeah, it's neat the way that paleontological artists study these muscles to be able to draw things like T-Rex, looking at what are all the sort of the scars of the insertions of muscles and how big each muscle is. You can really get a sense of how beefy different parts of the critter were.
Hmm.
Oh, nice work. I really like how you're seeing through these critters at the underlying structures and anatomy. That's really fun.
Thanks. So this one was a bit of a joke because it's a giraffe, and this is a giraffe, a titan.
Oh, that is
And they
fun.
lived in-
Yep. Oh, this is really cool. Yeah, the giraffe is such a strange shaped critter. Because of that big head, it ends up with huge spinous processes on its shoulders, giving it a giant bump. Um,
Hmm.
oh, and tell us about this sauropod that you've drawn.
It's basically the close relative of the Brachiosaurus that lived in Africa.
Oh, neat. And it was
Yeah.
really big.
Not the same, a little smaller than the Brachio.
You got a comparison with the style.
That's a Kentro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, we also went to this park, and I saw some Indian birds, and they were bizarre.
Oh, fun. Tell me, who's the one with the with the white mask, and who's the one with the little red on the tail? Is that a rail of some sort?
That's a water hen.
White-breasted water.
A
Ah,
white-breasted water hen. Oh my gosh. And tell us about the one with the white mask.
This.
Yeah.
That's a common myna. Don't know about the description.
It's like it's a size is like between the pigeon and
Blackbird.
yeah, it's kind of size of blackbird.
It's sort of like a blackbird,
Yeah,
but it's a bit bigger and fatter.
and it's very common. It's very urban, and it's you see it everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's fun.
Extremely common.
Yes.
And oh yeah, we saw a cormorant.
Nice. Yeah,
Mm,
I like your angles on that cormorant neck. Um,
we saw a drumhead.
oh, those are so cool.
Yeah, I mean, we only saw the back of it on
Yeah.
sunset. We managed to catch its tail.
That's what fun. Isn't it neat to be in a place where all the birds are just such a different smorgasbord than we're used to? And who's your stripy
So
friend?
that, wait, that, God,
Which one?
yes.
Pond heron.
Yeah, pond heron. It's
Oh,
sort of like a green heron,
yeah.
but it's not green.
And it hangs out in a pond.
Sort of.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's really cool.
this is very strange bird. This isn't a myna. I forgot to color it. But I don't know what's the English word for it.
Hmm. It's that's camouflage.
Yes.
Yeah, it's highly camouflaged and it's totally brown. And they always
They always are in 7 pairs, and we saw 7.
groups of
I mean,
seven.
groups of 7.
Really? What
Yeah,
is the
all of them.
bird?
We don't know the English name.
I don't know the
We're
English name.
still
But I wonder what is going on. Wouldn't it be fun to kind of dig into their social structure?
Yeah, we counted 7 of them.
That's cool.
egrets.
Yeah, there was also some egrets.
Oh,
Yeah.
these are fun sketches. I like how much you fit onto one page.
Yeah, these are some more pond herons and some fungi, just for fun. We also saw tons of fish.
Is that what the little pond heron was going after?
Yes.
Yeah, it was waiting by the pond.
Yeah, probably. Most likely. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's fun to be in a kind of a new environment and have new species.
We use this book as a field guide. So this is written by a man called Salim Ali. So
Mhm.
he's an ornithologist and he's called the Birdman of India. You can see. That's it.
Take us for a quick flip in that book. It looks like really nice illustrations there.
I mean, it's an old book, but we used it a long time back. But
It's
now,
not out of date.
yeah, but when we last used it, we were not used to nature journaling. But this
Mm-hmm.
book has a different meaning right now, since we are since we're about to start nature journaling. So you have the plates and the descriptions. These are smaller descriptions, and you have the plates, but you have the numbers. But you can go through uh, a greater level of detail at the back for each of the words. And each of the birds have different names in different parts of the subcontinent and even different parts of India. India is a country with different languages. So he also mentions what is the bird called in the different languages. So
Oh, nice.
it's an amazing comprehensive research book.
Oh, that looks like a great resource. And the illustrations look really solid there.
Yeah,
Thanks
it's
for sharing that.
all done by him. It's all done by him.
Oh, by Salim Ali?
By Salim. Yes.
Wow. Is Salim Ali still alive?
No, he passed.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Is it been a good visit, interesting visit? Excellent.
It's amazing.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Great to see you. Let's join. I see Kate, Walters, and Ivea have something to share. I'm going to bring in Kate. Hey there, Kate. Good to see you. And hold on a second. What do I do to?
I think I asked her to unmute.
Oh, thank you.
So fortunately, I have not had too much time to nature journal or paint lately. Things got kind of crazy, but I started a new job and that's had some interesting opportunities. But I'm slowly moving back into being able to do more painting and nature journaling. I just signed up for my first quarter of classes for the Yale Scientific Illustration program.
Oh, wow.
That's in January. So I'm trying to be like, okay, you know what? Get back into it. And I really missed it. So it's been nice to kind of be able to dedicate some more time and recalibrate my eye and hand to drawing. So I'll show you some stuff I've got lately. I had some elk studies recently.
Oh, the heavy neck on an elk is just so iconic.
Yeah, well, I picked the elk because I mean I don't get that much. Well, lately I haven't found much time to draw because there's been so much stuff that I need to settle. I figured I don't really know what elk look like, so I can't just draw what I think they look like. So I just brought this and drew just elk after elk after elk. Let's see what else I have. I think I've got one more page.
Oh, wow. You're really busting an elk move. This is terrific.
Yeah, trying to pick some positions.
I like how on that top one close to your head, that the way you're just throwing just a little bit more shadow on that back leg really pushes it back and gives the drawing a lot of depth. That different handling of that leg in shadow.
No,
Nice.
I'm trying to really punch in my darks more because that's something that I've really struggled with.
Trying to do what?
Oh, punch in my darks a bit more.
Good. Good.
More monotone paintings, which is great. Yeah, got some.
Kinglet.
Yeah, good eye.
Fungi, chickadees.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kinglets and the chickadees, they're just like little professional wrestlers with no neck.
Right? They do have a neck.
They're cute professional wrestlers.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. Did some birds of prey. The funny thing is when I don't spend a lot of time drawing, I feel like I have to tune my hand back in. Like this is after a couple of weeks of basically almost nothing besides doodling at my desk at work and without a reference. Oh, yeah, I need to practice more. We've slowly been getting back into it. Turkey. Went through my good friend, if anyone hasn't checked out Parker Gibbons herpetology on Instagram, go do it. He's got some amazing photos and some great stories on there.
What is the name of the person on Instagram?
It's Parker Gibbons.
Parker Gibbons. Okay.
So he's also, if you go on my YouTube channel, we did a video together that was really fun.
Oh,
do another one with him because I know he's got more weird reptile stories for us. So did that. Here's from this class.
The
Sketches in there. If anyone got some good ones of timber, I would love to see your work. And I've also been working on some snakes because that's kind of a weak point for me. Now I'll get better at like arranging those scales.
Oh, that is really fun. Yeah, getting the curve around the snake as the body turns away and then turns back again. There's a pattern on them, then the scales are doing things. It is such a crazy geometry. This is cool.
At my point where I feel like I just need to do a lot of legwork into just, refining some of the basics to get to that next level of making things look good. And I'm hoping that doing the foundation classes with the Yale program will kind of help elevate things to that next level.
Yeah, the only problem is you can't do legwork on drawing snakes.
That's a good point. I'll have to get the horse back out.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Kate. And again, thank you so much for bringing on Timber with us. This That's cool. So you're going to be doing the foundation class of the scientific illustration course. Are you going to be doing the full course?
Yes, that's the plan.
That is fantastic.
Right now,
That's fantastic.
3 classes. One's beginning watercolor. The other one is like just the foundation drawing class. It's a prerequisite for everything else. And then they've got one that's like historical science illustration, where you're learning how to do the styles and learning about like the history of that. So that one was right up my alley. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And as you're doing that, and when you get some cool nuggets, please share those with us.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I always. And if you guys want, I don't have anything going on today, so if anyone wants to stick on after we're done, I can get out another horse for you guys. If you want to do some block sketching, it's cool.
That would be really fun. So anybody who, after we kind of wrap today, anybody who would like to stick around, we'll leave this. I'm going to have to bounce, but we'll just kind of leave the room open with a cam on. And actually, what we'll do is we'll make you a co-host. I'm going to do that right now.
Oh,
you are
okay,
now.
Nice.
Think of the power. That way, should any naughty Zoom bomber show up, you can take care of them.
Nice. Love that. That's very fun.
Hey, thank you so much for doing that, and thank you for the timber doodles today.
Yeah, thank you for everything that this community provides. It's been really amazing to be part of that.
Appreciate it. All right, let's catch up with Valters. Valters, it's good to see you. You can unmute, and
I can unmute. Yes.
There you are.
Hi.
Hello there. Are you where on the planet are you today?
So I'm in the Canary Islands, but actually I wanted to tell you about a trip I took recently, but just two drawings firstly that I wanted to share. As here in the Canaries, there are mostly shorebirds. I live very close to the sea, to the ocean, to be precise, and just so sketching some seabirds with pencil. This is a plover, a common ringed plover that we call it.
I love the way you have created so very simple values on these that carves them. This is really minimal work, but you're showing a ton with the lines that you've chosen to use. John Busby would approve, man.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the drawings and the values down as fast as I can. So not even I'm trying to pay enough attention so that I get the beak length right, and the face mask, what's the sort of the structure of the face mask, but not too much so that I don't get caught up in the different feathers and everything else. So that's the
so folks, just hold that up one more time, folks. Take a look at the back
the other one.
Oh yeah.
So I had it somewhere here. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, not getting lost in, oh no, this little feather is overlapping this one in that way, and this little one overlaps like, no, just blocking in major forms and masses, and paying close attention to just some shifts in value. These are very, very convincing bird shapes. You're obviously really soaking yourself in the field. That's cool to see.
Yeah, just trying to be out as much as I can. And then I also I really like the sketchbook that I have right now for pencil, especially. It's the Stillman and Byrne mixed media. It was 150 the paper was, I think. I'm really enjoying this one. It feels very good.
They make wonderful sketchbooks. Really good
They
paper.
do. I stumbled upon it in a art store in Barcelona, and I absolutely love it.
I'm hoping that you
then,
brought enough blank sketchbooks with you to the Canary Islands.
No, I didn't. and that's that's the fact, because I want, this is almost full and I want another one like this, but unfortunately nothing ships these to the Canary Islands, and the local art store doesn't have them. So yeah, but I'll test something else as well. So, and then as for some watercolors, those I'm also trying to perfect. And with the watercolors, there I'm trying to perfect the shadows and the textures. So you cannot see very well here, but I was trying some like feathers a bit darker, edges a bit lighter. So just trying to handle watercolor that's the main goal right now.
You've
So
really developed a subtle touch with it. And something that I love about these is, we talk about art sometimes, this idea of lost and found edges, how there's a little bit of a shadow on the chest of the bird, but my brain can fill in the rest of the curve of the belly without it having to be drawn in for me. You're letting our imagination handle part of drawing the bird, and it to a really successful effect here. I love those lost and found edges.
yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to do right now. So yeah, thank you very much. I went on a trip, so for 10 days I haven't been doing any nature journaling, unfortunately. But in school, we are doing, as a part of a project, we are doing a research project, like a proper one, 16 or more pages, presentations. If we do it well, we go to like sort of competitions, regional and European perhaps. And we went, a little group of students, we went to the Faroe Islands. So that's between Shetland, which are islands north of Scotland, and between Iceland. So that's if here are the islands that Scotland has, Shetland, and here's Iceland, and here are the Faroe Islands, right in the middle. It was pretty cold there. It's so windy all the time, cloudy all the time, but the nature is just, it's something different.
Really?
It,
Tell us more.
Somehow just also the atmosphere there is something very different from anything I've ever experienced before. And well, the birds are the same, like for example in Western Norway, or the same as Scotland, but it's just much harsher. The weather is very harsh up there, so there are no trees, absolutely none. And well, it's not very good season for birds, but I saw some fulmars, and there's a lot of eiders there right now. Unfortunately, no Atlantic puffins, but next time for those. But it was it was a very cool trip, gathering information. So that I'm just putting it out there that such a place exists, and in the right season, it's beautiful there. It's just there's about 50,000 people living there, and 70,000 sheep in total on the islands. So actually, there's also not much. Trees cannot go there for two reasons: that there's too much wind up in the mountains, and if something grows, a sheep grazes it. So not really that, but seabirds, there were a lot of cliffs, so it's good for seabirds, definitely. And I'm just putting it out there that such a place exists, and it's beautiful. It really was beautiful. It doesn't differ much from in like the landscape from Western Norway, for example. It's I don't want to mess this up, a tundra like, maybe
Mhm.
like a Arctic tundra, yeah, so no bushes, no trees, just moss and little grass and a lot of rocks and waterfalls everywhere. So yeah, but
So
beautiful islands.
and so you're going to be visiting this place again and setting up a scientific
Yeah, so
experiment or research project of some sort
no, so
in
this
this.
was to this trip was to gather information for the scientific project that I'm doing. So I'm doing one which is how do seabird breeding ranges change, like due to climate change. So that would be if maybe the puffins are moving northwards and all the other birds. So it's also important for me to know what the fish are doing, for example, because
Wow.
that's what the puffins and all the other birds feed on. So that was also important. We had a lot of presentations over there. And then, yeah, in maybe next year in spring, those who did the project, we are also going back again. So yeah, I am doing quite a specific one out of all these students. So there, I didn't really get much information, but I asked around and got some contacts there, and I hope that by getting in touch with these people, I will be able to get something. It's a pretty big project. I think I made it a bit too big. It
Well,
shouldn't be a school project, shouldn't be like a Nobel
a
Prize
PhD
worthy
thesis.
one. Yeah, a PhD thesis, or but maybe I'll just try to compress it even more. But yeah, it's gonna
Now,
be fun.
um, we happen to have an in-house Arctic researcher on the call right here. Is it okay if I bump Nicholas up in the queue ahead of
I
you
was
to kind of tie into this?
I was hoping you would because it's been so long since we've seen him.
All
Yes.
right. So we're going to bring on Nicholas here, who is an Arctic researcher and studies birds. And a lot of the things that I think you're thinking about are absolutely in Nicholas's strike zone. So I wanted to get the two of you be able to exchange any information about him because I think that um, talking about your project with somebody who really lives and breathes this field would be really useful. And also, Ann Chadwick, if there's anybody at Point Blue Conservation Science who you um, think that Nicholas should be in touch with, if you send their contact from me to me, I will get that information over um, to Valters, or you can send it to Valters directly. But Nicholas, it is great to see you again. Love to hear your thoughts about this project and what's going on with you.
I was
Hi everyone.
actually
Yeah,
think Yeah, sorry, I was actually thinking about writing to you because I think I have your
excellent.
email from a couple of years back. So yeah,
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, please do. And anytime, any questions, that's good. What I like also is that you have ambition to do a project, which is something that is important to do, and motivation, the two key ingredients. Of course, if you can make it smaller so that you can finish on time for the school. I don't know what's your timeline, but that's the key there. But you can see it as a starting point. You can, if you don't want to scale it down too much, but want to just take a bit of it or just see how it's gonna be and that the time frame you have, that's what you can also discuss with the teachers and the supervisor there. But but yeah, anything. And
yeah,
don't see it as a barrier that because it's a school project you cannot do anything big. It's not the case. I would
yeah.
say.
So it would be probably a smart idea to get more specific, as yeah, I don't have a lot of time. I have about a month or so, a bit more. So not not a lot at this time, but yeah, yeah. But no, it's a pretty big one. It's like a what we call a ZPD. So that's a um yeah, like a research project that you have to do for at least 16 pages and everything. So it's gonna be an interesting experience, definitely.
Excellent. Do you have to present it as at the end as well for everyone?
Yes, so there's the research project, and then you have to make a separate presentation where you sort of touch the necessary points, and if you do really well in that, then you need to present it further and further and further, as we are pretty competitive here regarding that. So, yeah.
The other thing also that can be key for starting a project is really to have access to the good literature. So if you have any limits in that respect, with my access to the university, it's easier for me sometimes to get PDFs that you cannot, or books, and that's something
Yes.
that you can ask, no problem. And also, I'm sure with Point Blue observation.
The vultures, that offer right there is huge. So like when you're reading you know, something, and they cite an article, and you can kind of, you see like, oh my gosh, that kind of ties into what I'm thinking about. Being able to get that actual article in your hands, the primary source, is really useful. Instead of reading like somebody else's interpretation of what they kind of got from it. So if you've got an offer of somebody helping you get primary source scientific literature in your clutches, that's an incredible gift. Nicholas, thank you
very
for
much.
offering that
You're
support.
welcome.
That's huge because yeah, well, gathering information from the internet, it's not always, yeah, you sometimes the writer interprets it not wrongly, but from their perspective, and I might interpret it differently. So I also have the European Breeding Bird Atlas. So I'm also gonna try to use as much books as I can. So I'm not actually reading information only from the internet or from journals on the internet, but also some books that I can find. So there's it's good that also this European Breeding Bird Atlas, if you request an information on a specific bird, you don't really have to do anything. You can just write to them, and they can give you what they have. So yeah, I think gathering the information actually will be the most interesting part to see how it is done and how well can I do it in the short amount of time, because I have other schoolwork as well. So yeah.
I used to think that like books were like the best source of current scientific information. But what happens is that the journal articles come out much more frequently than books are updated. So by the time something makes it into a book, there's 30 other journal articles that have taken what the concepts in there to the next level. So if you can get ahead of that curve by finding current journal articles about these sorts of things, and then you can look in like what are the things that they're citing, and you'll just kind of go down the list and like ooh, that one looks really good. You can see abstracts of these often online, but then having contact with somebody who can then get you the full article, you are made. That's cool.
Yeah, I was looking at this online library, and there's options. Either you buy the article for 20 something dollars, or you write some kind of a code in or something, present that you are registered to the site. And I think it was something like a IBIS was called the site, maybe like a big journal where PDFs are scientific PDFs are stored. So yeah, thank you very much, Nicholas. I will definitely shoot you an email.
Great. And having a research mentor is an incredible gift. because how to do research, how to do, like we think, like I think I know how to kind of go about doing a research project, but there are lots of logistics of figuring stuff out initially from literature and then from your own observations that over the years scientists have refined and perfected. And Nicholas, thank you so much for your support. Nicholas, did you want to share anything specifically? Hold on, you can unmute if you wish to.
Yes, sorry for the back noise. We have some fixing of walls in the house right now, but I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
All right. So I was away for some time from any lessons and meetings with you guys, but I had great luck to be able to do some work, not just in the Arctic, but in the other hand to the Antarctic. And so that was quite time consuming, but very, very, very interesting. And I tried some tools that we practice for nature journaling there, but not a lot of time, unfortunately. But I did some landscape pitos, like you like so much, with a colony of Adélie penguins.
Oh, we'd
So
love to see this.
I just did this one. So it was from a point of observation where we are counting the penguins there, many cliffs, and also zoom in on the skua. Which was looking at these guys, and it was there, and in fact it was all the way there, so it was a scene that was happening further back in
I love the way you're using the boxes and the arrows to zoom in on parts of the story here.
And we had the opportunity to make a lot of interesting things there to monitor what they do and how they feed, and do that automatically as well. So in one part of the colony where it's surrounded by rocks, then you can really more or less narrow where they come and where they exit. And some are equipped with a little chip that makes ID very possible. And you can see when an individual is coming back to the colony, when he's going to the sea. And there's a little weight as well, where you can read their mass, and so you can have how much they weigh in and how much they weigh out, and when they have their little chicks, then you can really see how much they provided for the chicks during the time they were there. So I had like unfortunately I forgot some of my colored paper there, so I did some colored paper with tea. The eggs. And
that's improvising.
So I put this background.
So you toned it with tea,
and
then you could use the white pencil once it dried.
Exactly. So, and then this was the time where the chicks were getting a little bit bigger and trying to have a life on their own. And even before monitoring them, I knew a lot of how they look, but really by just drawing them when they were sleeping, I could really see that in fact their eye with the white around it is getting very, very thin, almost to a simple line when they are really in deep sleep. So that was a bit of fun there.
Wow.
So that was very exciting, and hard to go back into civilization after that, but it was very good, and unfortunately warm there, unusually warm compared to the usual.
And that, so you're seeing real warming in and around that colony. What impact does it have on penguin feeding and other behaviors?
So depending on the configuration of ice, it's not just the quantity, but the configuration of ice that makes the limit there. And this year was very precocial, and they were done almost a month before we expected them to be. So it was pretty good, but they survived a very nasty rain on snow event that is very unusual there. you have hardly any rain coming on the continent. And luckily it was just few days before the chicks will be left alone by their parents. And then this would have been very nasty because their down is not made for rainproof. It's not rainproof at all. So
we're now getting rainstorms in Antarctica. The beasties aren't adapted to be able to survive that.
Exactly. And a couple of years ago, most of the colony, in fact, lost their chicks because of such an event. So we were very worried. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So on the other hand, for the other big species there, the emperor penguin, it was pretty bad because of the very thin ice. They depend completely on the ice to breed and to depart. And so the young ones are not ready to go in the sea. They still have their down jacket, more or less, and they have to go and swim, more or less. And that's also very bad for survival for the young ones. I have a video of them departing. I don't know if I can share that.
Yes, I'm going to make you also a co-host. And now you've got full sharing privileges.
Let's see. Share screen. Okay. I don't know if you can see something.
We're good. Yes, we see your screen.
Okay. So I have one here that makes the departure of the emperor penguins on the water. Can you hear the sound as well?
No. The sound is not coming through. So this is the adults leaving to go out to feed?
The adults and the young ones. And the scene just before that is this one.
Oh, look, the gray ones are the youngsters?
Yeah. So you see that some of them, they are still not full plumage, ready for the water. So, but they are going there as well.
Was this their first swim?
The first very swim, yeah. And now they will be gone in the water for 4 years almost, nonstop.
And so are there two species that we're seeing?
Yeah, in the front we see the Adelie penguins, so the much smaller ones, and then the big ones mostly are the young, remaining emperor penguins.
Emperors, yeah, cool. Oh, wow, wow. Oh, look at this! Look at that.
So it's like a swimming pool in a big city.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What an incredible planet we're on. What an incredible planet. And can we please have the wisdom to take care of this thing?
So that was
and science research like you're doing, it gives us the tools to be able to make good decisions. And then we just need policymakers who are willing to listen to science and evidence. And so we civilians can put pressure on our policymakers that evidence-based, science-based conservation decisions are really important. Thank you for the work you're doing.
You're welcome.
Let's bring in Avea, the mad botanist. I know that she'd love to see you again.
Good to see you again, Nicholas.
Nice to see you, for sure.
I love that there's so many of us who are conservation minded, and just like Anne and Walters and just all of us doing this work together. It makes me really happy.
Yeah, there's a sense of community there, and that's also very helpful. When, for instance, the results are not going through, or despite large evidence, there is still no action in many aspects. So that's something that is giving a bit of hope on a daily basis, I think, for myself at least.
Yeah,
definitely. I had a question for either you or Anne or Walters. Do you all ever draw or cartoon how you take the data?
That's a good question. I actually don't, because most of the time we're like so focused on releasing the birds as quickly as possible, or finishing and guiding the students. But I would say the only way, at least for me, would be to go back to some of the pictures we take for just documentation of the pure data, and try to draw inspiration from that. But that would be, I think, very important to do.
Yeah, the same here. So always when, for example, ringing the birds, you can keep them for a little, but still it's important to, let them go their way. And so you have to take the data, put it on the ring, and release them as fast as you can. But I also sometimes draw them, from reference photos. So if it is a bird that interests me, I take photos on a blank background from the side, front, and maybe I stretch out the wing and the tail to see from the top, so to see things that interest me, and then let it go and do it later. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've done that out at our Palo Marin field station when we're banding or ringing birds, but with photographs, because you're right, you can't hang on to them for too long. But I'm very excited because we're having our first meetings finally about establishing an art and science program as an advisor to the board chair at Point Blue. That's what you get to do when you become board chair, is set some priorities.
yeah.
So you've met Lishka. She was our co-host in the sessions that we've done with you, Jack, and Evea. And she's going to be working with me to develop our why statement and our whole strategic plan on how we're going to do this. And I would love to involve a lot of people in this community once we get it started. And I'd love to have like an embedded artist who can go out and do, art at our different projects and document what we're doing and help us tell our stories, because that's part of then getting it into policy. It's like, yeah, we're really good at the science and we're all doing the science and we talk to other scientists, but are we affecting policy as well as we could? And that's sort of my two-pronged goals are involving art and science in telling our story and being effective at influencing policy. So we're getting there, but it takes a while.
That's great. The that visual storytelling. That's what a lot of these. That's what this sort of community, we're honing our skills in that, and it'd be wonderful to see that in service of conservation.
Absolutely, that's the vision.
All right. Well, I think in just a moment we're going to be bringing this portion of our conversation and our first let's bounce over to Evea.
Sorry, I was also going to share.
Oh, great. So Nicholas, Walters, and Anne, thank you so much for being with us here. And Evea, what's happening in your journal these days?
So I know I probably some of you might have already heard because I talk about this a lot because my current obsession and project. But I'd finished with Monoceros 1. And so this is my restoration diary that I've been sharing for quite a while. And so I've begun with Monoceros 2. But the thing is that there are a few pages of this one that I'm finishing up, and also trying to get organized about how I collect and present my data, so that way I would be able to do it in a more organized fashion, because this one is full of my, I don't want to say mistakes, but my sacrificial pancakes, I guess you could say. And I'm probably going to, when I'm done with this, make this available to my mentors and to anybody else who would like it. So these are some of the pages that you might have already seen, but I had to go back and do things like add some storytelling, where there were people who were involved when we were doing things. And yeah, because we have to keep those kind of stories in mind. Part of why I was asking the question about folks drawing the scientific, like the process of collecting data, is because I find it interesting to find out like what tools a person uses and what the order of operations is when they are, in fact, I'm looking for one of my good examples. What the order of operation is as they do it. It's like, for example, when I was taking notes about what worked with using the weed wrench, I noticed that I had to pull it in fits and starts and not all at once. Otherwise, it would snap off the root. And I noticed that I had to go as low as possible to the ground and, if possible, get it beneath any areas where it split off. And so I was wondering if there had been any kind of that stuff, because I think that that can be useful. Like, first of all, if you haven't used certain tools in a while and then you get all rusty, you can look back and say, oh, that's how I did that. And then also people can later on look at how you did it and say, well, have you considered doing it this way instead? Or alternatively, they can say, okay, so if we want to be really, if we want to have some integrity about how the originals were done, then we can duplicate it down to that detail. And so then it just kind of helps to know, just keeping track of your scientific process. Some of the stuff that I've been going back to add are like, a vole that I found a while ago and trying to like look at the approximate size. I'd taken a picture because I wasn't allowed to take it home, obviously. And we were in the middle of pulling up a whole bunch of Cape ivy, so I couldn't draw it right then. But it's fun, especially like learning more about bones. Oh yeah, before I continue with that, I also wanted to give a shout out to a book that Jack's mentioned before, especially in light of the four on the floor that we were studying later today. So if anybody wants to dive deeper into it, you can get some really fun, either skeletons that you can look at how things are done. You might recognize some of this. It looks very similar to what we were just doing. And let's see here. And then when Jack was talking about like 3 body parts, here was a good example in here. Where did it go? Yeah, like for example, in here, in this step, you can see 1, 2, and 3. And so if anybody's getting flashbacks to when we were doing the cubist horses, then yeah. So I wanted to recommend this book to folks if you want a deeper dive into a lot of what Jack is talking about, and has some really great practices in here.
Love that book. Love that book.
It's a super good book. Let's see here. I'm trying to figure out how to do rose bushes, because doing shrubs and bushes is really hard. I thought it would just be like doing smaller trees, and it's not. It's not. They go everywhere. They go weird haywire. You have to figure out how to do shadows correctly. Sometimes they change colors. And this particular one does not have any manners whatsoever. This is Harold, by the way. Harold over here has no manners, none. So it's like, what are some other things I've been doing lately? Got some brown ink I liked to play with. I like how it turned out when it came to some of my botanical sketches of the dead flowers. That was kind of fun. Let's see. I was doing this the other day, practicing with these bushes, trying to figure out how to do different textures. Because unfortunately, every single ecosystem I'm trying to capture is snarly and unkempt, and it's like I can't draw something that's easy. I have to draw all of these other layers, and I'm like, why are you like this? And so I'm trying to figure out more ways of doing that. Let's see. Finally finished my little miniature birds. This was my first page when it came to priority 1. And I figured learning how to draw them small is actually really challenging, because a lot of these birds have really complicated patterns. And I'm trying to learn how I would render them quickly in the field when they're all around. And so I figured it'd be good to practice both this and then the bigger versions. And yes, Susan, Harold's tried to grab me by the hair and then high-fived me in the eye with a thorn. So yes, Harold is rude. But yes, I figured if I can practice doing birds like this on small, then I won't be so scared when they start jumping all over the field. And I'm like, stand still. And the bird's like, ha ha. And then I'm like, gosh darn it. And so, yeah, I'm going to practice these hopefully with all of them. My list that I've been working on now is up to like 45. Yeah,
Wow.
45. And I've got more. So I've got
fun.
And I'm not done yet. That's the problem, is that I've drawn so many of these guys, but I haven't like put in all of the data. I mean, you all have seen this page, but I haven't gone back and done the data yet. I've gone and done, oh yeah, like these ones. Chickadee's
Oh,
making
what
fun of me.
fun.
Look at the
What
chickadee making fun.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look at you and your silly yoga. Look at what we do. And I'm like, rub it in. For a long time, I called them white triangle faces, because I didn't know their names, and now I know that they are chestnut-backed chickadees.
But if they were called white triangle faces, we would all draw them better because it's such a great descriptive name.
Oh, thank you. And so, yeah, I want to give all of the birds their own sassy little names, but I don't consider, like, those are great and all, but this is what I'm looking for. I want to have the pages with the context all around them, where I can try to do the songs, which are still challenging, where I can write down like, what they eat. I can sort of draw where they nest. And this is, for me, is super duper important, so that way I know what areas to leave alone.
Oh, that's cool.
When I'm doing restoration work, or what areas to keep an eye on. Another thing that I want to do once I figure out how to navigate iNaturalist correctly is I want to go back and try to note when these observations are made that other people have, so that way I can sort of guess what timeline each of these birds have. Because we have bird nesting season from March to August, that we have a ban during that time period on doing any sort of canopy work. And I'm thinking, the thing that I wonder about then is, okay, that makes sense. Don't mess with the canopies, don't mess with the bird nest, but what if they're not all canopy nesters?
That's right. That makes total sense.
And then what if the other, okay, this is going to sound like a very silly question, but you know what? I embrace that I'm a beginner. That's fine. And I've been wondering for the longest time, when birds aren't nesting, where do they sleep? I can't believe I just asked that out loud.
No.
I've been wondering.
And I don't know. I'm going to bounce over to the gallery view here. Nicholas or anybody have any insights on that? Let's add Nicholas into the call there. What's your thoughts?
I would say the deepest sentence ever is like, it depends. Yeah, so you have like all the waterfall, they usually go into safe places in the middle of ponds and lakes and sleep in groups, and then they have the ability to sleep just half of the brain, so that there's always awareness and even an eye open when the other one is closed. And for our passerines, mostly they are in the canopy nesting, close to trunks and branches, and they are also they have the ability, all the birds, to the safe and the resting, how can I say that, the resting state of their legs is the crunchy state. And when they extend, like for instance, when you see a picture of an eagle trying to grab something, and when they push their legs, then that opens their fingers and claws, and that's what makes them open them. But it's an effort for them to open them. And so you can have even like unfortunately some sick birds that die in their sleep. You can see them hanging upside down from a branch that they were sleeping in. So that's also something. And then also you have the cavity nesters. Usually they try to go in cavities and sleep there. And in, for instance, even like the woodpeckers, if you have any like old sheds and then have like little entrances, and they can even go in there and sleep in there. But you will miss them in the early mornings because they will depart very, very early. Yeah, but some are sleeping also while flying, like the swifts. They do that as well. So it's but they go high altitude. Even if they lose a little bit, then they're good. So more or less that.
So the thing with the bird's feet, it's almost like the spiders with their hydraulics.
Yeah, so the hydraulics is completely reverse compared to our hands, where we have to force our hand to open and extends, but that's our resting state. And then to do this, we have to also use a lot of muscles, but the resting state for the feet of the 99% of the birds. It's like this.
Like spiders when they die and you see them all crumpled in the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
that's
saw
true. I
you.
never noticed that.
I saw Anne raising her hand too. Do you want to add some stuff to Anne?
Yeah, just a tiny bit. And I don't know nearly as much about this as Nicholas does, so thank you so much for that. But I know that I've observed sandhill cranes that will roost at night together in a flock in the middle of a shallow pond. And one of the reasons they do that is if any critter tries to get to them, coyote, for example, it'll make ripples in the pond, and they'll sense that, and it wakes them up or brings them out of that resting state. So that's a really cool defense mechanism. And then the other firsthand observation is that I get to see the egrets flying back up past my house every evening to go roost in certain trees up by the Russian River every night. So they gather, and I don't think they're always on nests. I think they're just in the trees, right?
Yes.
Canopy. So just a couple of firsthand things.
That's good to know.
And in the chat, people were asking about the birds sleeping while flying and thing. There's this, you've heard about split brain experiments with human beings when we get our corpus callosum snipped. In birds, there's this crazy thing where if I close this eye, I can sleep this side of my brain. I close this eye, I can sleep this side of my brain. And so, yeah, some birds will, in migration, do this and get a little nap for half their brain, then keep flying doing this, getting a nap for half their brain. And then another version of that is that you've seen ducks on a log, and they're sitting there, and the ones in the middle are doing this. And then the one on this end will be doing this. And the one on this end will be doing this. And so the ducks on either side have one eye open, and the ones in the middle are just like, this is great. I get to have a really good sleep. But then think about that one on the end. It's been doing this for a while. And so now, if everything were fair, they'd switch places, but they don't. But when it wants to sleep its other side, what it does is it turns around and then closes the other eye. And there's just, birds are cool. Birds are cool.
This makes me really, I love this. I love all of the cool, y'all give me so much more than I even imagined, because I didn't think about wading birds and shorebirds and about them sleeping, but that's exciting. That's awesome. Just thinking about how they can sense the rippling of the water, or they sleep all close together like that. That's really cool. Or like about the ducks with one eye open. I love that. Century ducks. Part of why I ask is that some of our most popular, or some of the most common birds that I see at our site are, of course, the it's not called the Standing Street Nightingale, although we call it the Standing Street Nightingale. White-crowned sparrow, that's the one.
Yeah.
White-crowned sparrow and song sparrow. And so because those are my friends now, I'm like, where do y'all sleep? I mean, I try not to mess with you during the bird nesting season, but then how do I know, after your little ones have fledged, then how do I know that I'm not messing with you now? So that's why I wonder these things, especially because it says that at least here in the Pacific, they're usually ground nesters, but according to All About Birds, here on the Pacific coast, then they will nest low in the shrubs. And as I mentioned, what do I have to draw? What is all over my site everywhere? Shrubs. All of the shrubs, all of them, and all of the tangles. And I'm just like, how do I make sure I'm not messing with these guys? So I have to go and thank you for listening to my babbling. It helps to talk out loud because there's so many elements to this project. There's also collecting data, and then knowing that I'm doing this without a team of people. It really hit me today that I don't have other people I'm comparing my data with, because if they are collecting any data, then it's classified, and I don't have that level of clearance, but I just, in general, I'm not out there with a team of people or even a partner. I'm doing this by myself. And so I'm trying to make sure I can streamline it. Let's see here. Earlier today, I decided I was going to be a grassicist, as some people heard me say, and draw grasses. The entire time lamenting and saying, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I doing this to myself? And secretly knowing that it's because I love it. But they are hard to draw. It's that whole thing that Jack talks about not getting graphite everywhere, and I did right here. And so I learned that you have to go and erase some parts of it after you draw it, and leave only the rough outline when you're doing that.
That's a cool technique.
And I'm trying to find some good words to describe these guys. And I need to go back and draw more ligules, and I need to go and look at how to measure glooms. And I'm just like, oh my God. And so there's that. Gosh, what else? Oh yeah, sorry. And I'll try to wrap this up so that we can go to horses. But another thing is that I've been trying to keep this list of who is flowering today. I like occasionally doing the ones where you get to draw all of the flowers in a day, but I thought that for data collection, it'd be a lot easier if I simply took down the date, checked off who was flowering, and then gradually added more as time went on. But I ran out of space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I ran out of space. And so I'm sitting there face palming, and for some reason, it didn't occur to me to just simply go back a page. But anyways, so then I decided that I was going to go checking out like which endemic species there are and have a list. And mind you, I'm trying to be more careful about my language because when I'm looking at introduced species, some of which we might target, I'm not saying that we target all of them, because not all of them are on balancing. And I want to be more mindful about different interactions with them. So I've got this, I've got the introduced, I've got the endemics ones. I'm going to be transferring my lists over here to Monoceros 2. I'll be transferring my bird list over there so I can start to keep track of that too. And I'm also, my other plan is that Susan gifted me a really, really lovely journal that I'm not sure where it is because I have everything everywhere right now, but she gifted me a lovely journal. And my plan is to go onto iNaturalist and try to draw all of the bugs that they say are in this area, and then try to sort of begin to learn them either by order or start to observe interactions. Because what I want to know ultimately is, with this list here, I want to know if we were to take out all of the introduced species that we were told to, how many of the endemics would be left to supply the pollinators? Would there ever be times during the year where pollinators would not have access to their nectars? And would that affect any endemic pollinators? I would hope not, but as we know, global climate change is making things really, really interesting these days. And so I don't want to make assumptions about things, especially
Love
because
the way you think on this. This is, and it's, you're thinking about these things, that those thoughts came out because you're keeping these charts and thinking about when these things are in bloom. And then that led you to questions.
Yeah,
which could then impact your stewardship. So cool.
A thing I've noticed is that, with only a couple of exceptions, the ones that tend to flower the most during the year are ones that were introduced. Take Raphanus sativa, the wild radish, or bristly oxtongue over here, and the name is really long and I can't say it proper. Or Malva parviflora, the cheeseweed mallow, and some of the others, Conium maculatum, poison hemlock. Some of the ones that flower the most during the year are ones that were introduced. Makes me wonder if they have a similar flowering range at home where they're endemic to themselves, or if there's something about this ecosystem that allows them to flower either longer or more frequently. And I wonder, like, why some flower less, and I wonder who pollinates them. I have a lot of questions. And the thing is that I know that this is just, it's going to be years of study. This isn't going to be able to end. And the thing is that if I get moved to another site, I want to at least have a record of everything that I did so that whoever is on my site next will have this as a resource. So thank you for listening to all of my crazy neural activities that I've been doing lately. And I've got, oh yeah, sorry, because I'm
well, it's so inspiring to see the way your brain is sparking around all these phenomena.
Thank you. Like I'm trying to do an index of all of the different mini sites so that I can draw the little landscape pictures. I know I've shown some of these before. And then that way, when I'm either here at my map or when I'm in the book, then people will know what I'm talking about when I say heart-shaped path, or when I say the stump next to Jack's stairs. And as I mentioned before, yes, I do mean John Muir Laws. Yes, you can barely see them, but you can see these poles here, and those are the poles that border Jack's stairs. There is a lovely stump I like to sit on while I stare up at the hillside that drives me crazy that I've tried so many times to draw, and silently weep. And then I'm like, but I like doing this to myself. and so my plan is to do that. So then that way, if we're
And I
going,
love also how you have direction arrows on those landscapitos so that you're sitting here looking this direction.
yeah, like north. And you can see the Golden Gate Bridge from there. So that way people know what way they're supposed to face when they're learning about my maps. And so then that way, for example, here, I wrote that I was at priority 1 underneath the Toyon tree, and I tried to draw it. And I'm going to hopefully complete this, but it was difficult to draw because it is difficult to draw. And so my thought is that I go and spend a lot of time doing this stuff, and having an index up here in the front. Then later on, if I'm in the field and it winds up being a really busy day, and the only thing I can really do is write down what to do today, or rather a to-do list. I could write down a to-do list of what we actually did. Then if I don't have time to draw a little landscapeito of where I was, that's okay. I don't have to be hard on myself because I have it already up here in the front.
Now, you mentioned a to-do list. Tell us a little bit more about a to-do list.
Okay, so my therapist told me, and it's a way of sort of increasing your self-esteem, but also it's a different thing. Like, a lot of us make to-do lists so that we can see all of the things that we haven't gotten done that we have to do. Fine, that's great. Organization is great. But if your to-do list is like 30 pages long and you can't organize very well, then you might end each day feeling like I didn't do anything. I wasted my day. But if you do a to-do list instead, where you make a list of everything you actually did that day, then you begin to believe in yourself a bit more and you begin to make more progress. At least that's the thought. And so making a to-do list with the restoration site would mean saying, like, where was an example of a to-do list? It doesn't say to-do, but it says today we, and then it says what we did. This particular day, I happen to do this, and then there's a Golden Gate Bridge, and you get the idea. So then you can say what we actually got done that day. So then we can see when the work was done, and then we know about like what season. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Okay, and then I really have to stop talking because I'm so sorry. I'm taking so ever. One thing I'm super excited about is that I can finally, because it's raining today, I can finally begin to put this list to use. I began making my rainy day list of tasks. That means the taproots are going to be soft right now. So if there's any plants with really annoying taproots, me and Quinn are going to have a ball tomorrow. And I can also go after the seedlings. So that way, if I take care of the seedlings now, then we're not pulling them out later on when they're flowering, especially the Conia maculatum, the poison hemlock. And we're not pulling them out when they're big and are capable of like punching us, because you pull up poison hemlock in the sunshine and it's flowering and the powder's all in the air. And you're just like, oh no, why is everything spinning? And I can't count how many times I've fallen over while I'm pulling out poison hemlock. And then they try to slip them little selves into your water, and that plant tries to kill you. And you're like, can we just deal with you when you're this small, please? And then it saves you so much work. Okay, and now I'm finally going to stop. Thank you for listening.
Now, like they say, like when you want to get something done, ask a busy person. If you want to be inspired by creativity and all the possible things to do, ask somebody with a busy journal. What I love is just how open you are to all the different possibilities and questions, and you're actively observing, actively wondering, then acting on those as a steward. So you're out there, you're pulling up species that are, out competing the locals. This is such a breath of fresh air and inspiring. Like, may we all find that joy and motivation to care in the world around us.
I would love that. Oh, also, I think that they're beginning to do group projects again in the Presidio. If anybody lives locally and wants to come and restore with me one day, let me know. We're gonna have fun.
This is just great.
Thank you so much, Jack. And thank you for all of your support and everything that you've taught me that I've been able to put to use in the field.
You're taking it to next level. Like you brought the whole idea of the really thinking and acting on the restoration as a journaling process, and stewardship to our attention, and made that part of it. You know, I'm so happy to be in this endeavor with you.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to bring this meeting to a close. Thank you all for your participation and sharing. And if anyone would like to stick around, Kate, are you going to be heading out with your little pony?
I was planning on heading down there. The only thing is I'll have to hop off and then hop back on, switch it on to my phone's connection. I don't know if you get like a show of hands or something, see how many people want to hang around.
Let me, so yeah, use the raise hand function if you'd like to stick around and draw some more horse. I'm not going to be able to join you. I've got to bounce to a different meeting. But a few folks, oh, hi Michael, hi Brenda. But we'll keep the I'll keep this open until Kate comes back on, and then it'll be horse time. Folks, thanks so much for being here. Stay curious. Let's yeah, your thought today is to sort of think about the role of evidence in our decision-making processes.
Yeah.
How can we inspire ourselves to, it's harder work, but to lean more into that and to help our people in decision-making power to use that to help us make better decisions. Kate, yes.
Oh, sorry, what?
Oh, so why don't you let us know let me know when you are kind of hooked up with your phone.
Yeah, so it looks like there's only 2 people and most of them have to head off now too. Would it work better for people if I came on during Pencil Miles next week and started that process again, or keep going?
Yeah, why don't we do that? And maybe we can put that, just drop that into the Pencil Miles and Chill discussion for that description for that day, so people will know that that there's a Mustang coming your way.
I'll make sure that it goes on the calendar, and I will also make sure to put a special announcement for that on the Facebook so that people will know to show.
Oh,
Great.
perfect. Yeah, my plan is to stay in here on Wednesday night so I can be here bright and early in the morning to show up with Timber again. So hopefully we can make that happen. I'll try and yeah.
We'll look forward to having you. It was good to see you again today too at Pencil Miles.
If anyone wants to get in touch, just message me on Instagram or something like that. So,
and we can find you on Instagram at
Kate Chandler Illustrations, I think.
Kate Chandler Illustrations. Thank you folks so much, and we will see you all again soon.
All right.
Thank you.